All right, this is recording 811. The name of this specific recording is Listen Next 811. You can find my podcast with all these recordings. Look for Speaking to the CIA podcast on Google by Christina Stacia, myself. Or you can find me at ChristinaStacia918.com or SpeakingToTheCIA.com. Or you can find me on YouTube or Twitter or Podbean. Okay, so, oh my God. Okay, so, more here. So, the first thing I want to do is go over another crime that Jean committed, but I know the FBI is saying they're investigating, which is a good sign and a bad sign. Which means because Gene Roberts poses the FBI and Gene Roberts is the one who's committing the crimes, but Kash Patel, the leader of the FBI, is well aware of that. So they obviously know who the criminal is, and they obviously know they're trying to run a racket. They're obviously well aware. One dead after car slams into lavish Portland social club with possible explosives. FBI investigating. So you know she's using Timex Social Club. And Timex Social Club is also Club Nouveau. Those are both bands. They sing... The most popular song you would probably know by them is Lean On Me. And you're going to see on my previous podcast on her, Gene Roberts, stealing my childhood and all of my friends' childhoods. And then all the movies that she iced or made around my childhood and my friends. Okay, so while she's living large off of trafficking and selling kids and putting it in the movies and making a ton of money, and all of us are growing up living our lives and struggling every step of the way, and Mrs. Ku Klux Klan has been filthy rich, getting away with it. So, anyway, okay, so she took someone's life in this crime. So, anyway, again, Gene Jernigan Roberts needs to be arrested. So, even her, trying to get me to elaborate, because what is Gene Roberts all about? Gene Roberts is all about money. Okay? So, even her trying to get me to elaborate as while I turn her in for committing a crime, and her trying to get me to elaborate on what she owes me because she stole my life and she owes my family a new life. She owes a lot of people a new life. No, again, Gene, not your little nasty people. Those would not be my family. Those would be your little cohorts. The little ones you had running around in my brain last night. Anyway, so you can see what the manipulation she's doing there, trying to control my speech. Okay, so now moving forward to, okay, so here is more. So, okay, so remember when I was talking in my previous podcast, and I was talking about the slope down in my backyard when I was living at 306 East Street at the corner of East and Cottonwood in Globe, Arizona when I was in grade school. My mom and dad lived there, my mom and my stepdad, Jeff. Okay, so anyway, the house that we lived at before that was on 11th or 12th Street on the other side of Globe. Okay, so another thing is remember when I told you about, and this is 1976, the year 1976, and I went screaming for my mom because there was a rattlesnake on the porch and it was getting ready to strike at the glass. I still can't remember if it was striking at the glass or if she just keeps putting that in my brain. I remember being terrified because it was right up on the back patio, right at the glass door. Okay, and I decoded all that. And by decoding all that, I figured out how long she has been using ice on snakes for. And then I had yet to figure out about all of the pre-planned snake terrorism. But anyway, so another thing I wanted to point out was that was also a future sign of her planning to do the World Trade Center attack, because a sliding glass door is 2 glass rectangular panes. And then her trying to again frame the United States Marine Corps. So anyway, the next thing I want to tell you is her baseball Ponzi. So if you get the initials of baseball, it's what? BB? Baby. So you could say her baby Ponzi. Okay. So another thing she did was, remember I told you she assaulted me with a pencil when I was 2 months old. So what she did also, you have to see all my podcasts on her Ponzi. She's been running a baseball Ponzi, trafficking babies, children, and adults, including myself, ever since I was born. Since before I was even alive, she trafficked Marilyn Monroe in this Ponzi. Okay, so the baseball is white. The bat is wood. So, no, pencil. So, pencil, baby. I told you she assaulted me with a pencil when I was 2 months old. And then 2 months old, and then baseball and bat. And then she's probably using the catcher's mitt. And then she's probably using Catcher in the Rye, her pre-planned racket, and then telling lies, and then again her rye bread reference. Oh my God, somebody arrest her already. So anyway, the next thing also in Ice Follies, remember I told you Ice Follies, she did that too, and planning to do the World Trade Center attack. The initials I and F, okay, so that's Phi. So again, she's trying to frame the United States Marine Corps. Again, I told you that's what her plan was the whole time. I mean, she's trying to frame everybody. It's everybody else's fault, and she's just perfect. Okay, so what I want to talk about next is all related to this also. Now, I already have a podcast on this, so I'm going to tell you guys, for those who are listening, okay, I turned her in for committing crime, major crime, terrorism, assassinations, murders. I just turned her in again just moments ago for committing a crime. Okay, so when it comes to her stalking and trafficking, myself, Christina Marie Stacia, my friends and family, okay, the first thing she's going to do is direct local attacks where I'm at here in Tulsa, because she's got a bunch of people acting like they know me, including herself. She pretends like she's related to me, my dad's ex-girlfriend, Jean Jernigan Roberts, Stolen Valor. Now they're calling her Nevis Capus, which makes me laugh. But anyway, everybody's acting like they know us, or they're acting like they are us, and they're out like as concierge service. They're doing all kinds of criminal ass crap when they're just out stealing our identities and making money off of stealing our lives and thinking that they're silencing me from telling on them. So some of this stuff I report, and these are actual reports I make to the CIA. And again, me being forced to be put in this position to have to make public reports against her because she keeps hacking my reports and nobody from the CIA shows up to pick me up because she's running a hostage racket, and because this is a terrorist situation. Jean Roberts is a terrorist. And she's got people held hostage. So this isn't going to last forever. But what you need to do is not personalize. You need to personalize and be very angry. But you need to not personalize. You need to be very strong, because everybody is feeling the same amount of pain. And let me tell you something. It's pain and suffering. What she is doing to me and my family. Her and her nasty occult. So, you need to keep that in mind as I continue to talk. Okay, so anyway, remember my podcast, and I turned in Jean for this. She did this to my first husband, and she did this to me too. Okay, so my first husband, when he was really little, it is the sweetest, like most precious story in the world and the most scariest story in the world. And what Jean Roberts did is she was using ice, and she was using ice vision to scare you, if you can hear me or if your family can hear me. Okay, so what she did Jean Roberts is she created an AI CGI of like this like demon head, like a head, and she stuck it in the windowsill. Okay, and my first husband was a little boy, and it scared the heck out of him. Like he thought he was seeing the devil. It scared the heck out of him, and he went screaming for his mom, and she's like, it's okay, it's okay. And she held him, and she prayed for him forever and ever and ever, and to rebuke the beast that was at the window, and it's going to be okay, and mom's here, and don't worry. It's like, it is scary, and his mom is precious. So in present day, Jean Jernigan Roberts has the audacity, and I turned Jean in for kidnapping her and that nasty little MFer. And I know they poisoned her. I know they did. And they've been in cahoots for a very long time. So that's why the backlash comes back from Jean Roberts telling lies about me, which are ridiculous, stupid lies. My family knows me. I'll vomit in your face. God, he makes me freaking puke. I can't stand that. I can't stand any of them. But anyway, so she actually acts like she is a friend to Spanish people everywhere, Jean Jernigan Roberts, and she literally combines a picture of her with herself. Like, she combines Mary Lou's picture and herself wearing a denim shirt, and she acts like she's holding my son Anthony when he's a baby, Jean Jernigan Roberts, because she's combining a picture of Mary Lou holding my son Anthony, and Jean Jernigan Roberts is pretending to be her, and she has spread lies all over to Latin people everywhere here in Tulsa. And I can't believe the Navy Gal 27, that's Jean Roberts' email, of 119 Jerry Street, Milton, Florida, has gotten away with any of that. I can't believe. Well, look at everything she's done, and nobody is arresting her. She is a deranged psychopath. And anyway, she puts that in my brain. But anyway, so when I was pregnant with Anthony, and this is going to be scary, but again, this is pain and suffering, so just be strong, and just like, Jean is deranged. So when I was pregnant with Anthony, and this was in 1990, I couldn't sleep, and I went to go sleep on the couch, and I woke up, and I told you this in a previous podcast. I woke up in the middle of the night, and it was the scariest thing in the world. And I know it was a literal true to God snake underneath me. I know she was using a freaking snake to move the floor underneath me. But I woke up in the middle of the night on the couch in the living room, and the couch was like moving back and forth. And I was like, what the heck is going on? And I was just coming out of like a deep sleep. And the couch was like moving back and forth. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And then on the back of the couch, I see a little demon head on the back of the couch. And I'm like, what is going on? And so she's taking advantage of the fact when you're pregnant, you have nightmares. So she thought she'd have herself a good time. Okay, so she did that to Mario, and then she did that to me, okay, when I was pregnant with Anthony. Well, those heads, those also go to her baseball Ponzi, and no baby, and I was pregnant with Anthony. And also note, they went to, when they lived in California, I grew up in Arizona. Mario at the same time was in California, growing up in California, and Jean Roberts was stalking me and my family in Globe, and at the same time she was stalking Mario's family in California, and probably at the same time stalking Ben's family in Texas, because I've decoded her stalking them back all the way back into the 70s. So anyway, or wherever they were, I think they're from Texas. But anyway, so another thing that she did was, okay, so fast forward to high school, okay, and Mario and I are now dating, okay, and we're high school sweethearts. And so Mario's favorite video game was Street Fighter, okay, and I decoded the heck out of Street Fighter, and it actually is linked to her stalking his dad, Mario Sr., in California, and I decoded like a couple pages of it. So she was stalking the heck out of his dad, okay, and a bunch of his friends. I decoded the holy heck out of all of it. So anyway, so she's stalking Mario and I in high school. She's using ICE. She's stalking us. She's stalking all of our friends. So something to point out additionally about the Street Fighter, the initials of Street Fighter are SF, safe. Remember, she robbed the cartel. And then whenever we would go to lunch, or when Mario would go to lunch with his friends, or whenever I would go to lunch with Mario, where did he play Street Fighter? At Sbarro's Pizza. So you can break down Sbarro. I also want to point out this Sbarro. I want to point out pizza, the A2B2C2, and I want to point out Sbarro was founded in 1956, and 5 plus 6 is 11. And then you have 9/11, 1 and 2. Again, more evidence. Jean Roberts pre-planning to do the World Trade Center attack. Okay, moving ahead again. So I decoded back into my childhood in the 70s. I was decoding my childhood, and I decoded this when I lived in Slidell, this part of this. Jean Roberts, I decoded this all out, and then I'm like researching it, and I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this. But anyway, she somehow got the government. I don't know the work inside the government where her ICE hands met the government's hands and she got her way, or what she, like the schematic of it, I don't know. I just know that Jean Roberts did it, okay? So anyway, Jean Roberts planned on creating and created a program called the Five Eyes program, okay? So anyway, and another thing that she planned to do, and she was also stalking Barack Obama at the same time. And I told you she had been stalking the Obamas in the 60s, the same as she was stalking the Clintons. I decoded all this out. Okay, so what she pre-planned to do is she pre-planned to pass some of this on his watch, okay? So when he became president, he was voted into office, it would be, and she probably, I'm sorry, people are trying to control my speech. When he got into office, there's an agenda. When you become president, there's an agenda. You're picking up where the president before you left off. Okay? You do your own thing, but you also do all the things that came before you, okay? And that's how being in office works. So anyway, she pre-planned to pass this on his, no, that was the healthcare. Was that Five Eyes or was that the healthcare? Now I can't even remember. But she pre-planned to pass it on his watch, like when he became president. what somebody was trying to say when they were trying to interrupt me is she probably planned for this to pass through several candidates' watches. Okay. It's no secret that she controls presidencies, but you can't control, you can plan all you want, but it doesn't mean you necessarily get your way. So just like she does with me, she pre-plans my life, but it depends on the outcome of my life. Like, she controls me, but she controls every path I make. Like, she controls everything about me, which means there's more candidates that she probably did that to also. So anyway, what I wanted to point out about the Five Eyes program is this is a known at this point. I've had her turned in for it for a while. But what I wanted to point out was 5 is V. So V eyes, vice. VC, VP. Okay, VP code. So this all goes to the VP code. So all the VP ciphers that I decoded, Jean has a whole VP theme. So she also did this. This made everybody laugh when I noted this down, this part of this right here. They're like, oh my God. But they're like, she did this to Barack Obama, so she replaced his name, Barack. He goes by Barry. His name is Barry Obama. His name is the same name as my dad's. And his name is also the same name as Ben's dad. I told you, Gene Roberts loves berries. So, anyway, she replaced the B in Barack. She replaced it with V, so Barack. And remember how she would have Obama saying, and I don't know if it's, again, a thing that communications people in the White House, PR people, have politicians to say, or how it came to be, how he came about saying it. But remember when he used to say, on the JV league or the varsity league. Remember when he used to say that? So that goes to that too. So, and then that goes again to her stalking Ben's family. Okay, so moving forward. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about was 6th grade, my 6th grade year. I started my 6th grade year at Hartford Elementary in Chandler, Arizona. Okay. Then I transferred to Pomeroy Elementary. So see all my podcasts on Pomeroy Elementary. Okay, my next school after that was when I entered junior high. I went to junior high at Willis Junior High in Chandler, Arizona. Okay, so you see all my decoded ciphers, everything. There's a ton of it. Gene Roberts, running her trafficking ring or planning execution even before I was born, stalking all of us. I mean, it goes on and on forever, and her pre-planning to do the World Trade Center attack, which she planned before I was even born. And then she wants to blame it on all the kids. And then she wants to get away and act like she's the hero when she's the abuser, and wants to use the very same technology she used to abuse all the kids to run around acting like she's saving children. She even blasphemized the Holy Bible, where God says, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I will be. She even blasphemized that. She wants to call herself Jesus. I decoded all this. She wants to call herself God and Jesus, and she'll just be there, and she'll just buy, sell, and traffic your kids. She's just loving on them. That's all she's doing. Making her terrorism money, committing terrorism. So anyway, okay, so what I want to point out specific here, new, is, okay, so Pomeroy Elementary, 6th grade, goes to Arnold Palmer, which is a drink. You remember, she's got her whole drinking theme planned and ready to go. Her whole drug and alcohol drinking theme, her whole Synanon kick to it, which she pre-planned that before I was even born also. The first signs of it that I could see, was in 1976 when I was 5 years old and we had just moved to Globe. But she had pre-planned this, like, even before I was born. And Synanon and Charles Manson are one and the same. But only Synanon will admit to you that they helped Gene Roberts get away with this with Charles Manson. Some of them will flat out tell you that they did this. Charles Manson never admits to anything. The only person that's ever admitted to anything is Patricia Kremrinkle. And she was telling on Gene Roberts. So, anyway, okay, so Arnold Palmer goes to Pomeroy Elementary. Okay, so I went to Willis Junior High. Now, Willis Junior High was a brand new junior high that was just built. It's probably still there. It's next to an Air Force. I think it's next to Andrews Air Force Base or Luke Air Force Base. I don't know the base that's next to it. But anyway, it was a brand new school. You know how much Gene loves brand new schools. So anyway, Arnold and Willis, different strokes. Now, I know you guys already know this, but what I'm pointing out is the pre-planning, even there to there. She pre-planned all this even before I was born. But the pre-planning from there to there, from Pomeroy to Willis. And then also point out Arnold Palmer, the initials AP. Charles Manson Zodiac. And then something else I want to point out. I'm going to disguise this, even though it's related, what I'm disguising it with. But I'm disguising this. You're going to have to look deeper into this. Something else that she did. Sham Arnold. Okay, and then another disguise I want to do, which is also related to this, but you're going to have to look deeper into this, is Mrs. Keegan. You remember Mrs. Keegan was my next door neighbor next to me when I lived at 306 East Street in Globe. Okay, she did use Miss Keegan's name again here. But I'm saying, I'm giving you these for you to look underneath. There's more behind it. Okay, and then also something else she did. If you look at Arnold Palmer, see the R and the N turns into an M. So then you have AMP. So that's evidence of her pre-planning to do the Oklahoma City bombing. And then also the F is missing from Arnold. And then also Arlene Brown is in there. So Fold, remember she used Mad Magazine as a theme? So that is the end of this recording.